Hey guys, so I'm making another video, obviously. So this video is going to be about why I don't like babies and toddlers and small children. Because I said in multiple videos that I'm not a big fan of like kids, but it's not kids, it's mainly just children. Well, not children. It's mainly just 8 and below, or maybe just 7 and below. But I really don't like toddlers and babies, like around that age. I feel like once they get maybe like 8, maybe 7, depending on like how they're raised, then they'll behave more. But normally around 5 and below is when they're just annoying. So I'm sure many of you are wondering why, so I made yet another list. And this one's quite lengthy. And it goes all the way down to the bottom of the page. So this will be fun. So, number 1, crying. That goes without saying. Just high-pitched, dragging noises and just crying in general just gets on my nerves. First of all, it's just annoying with all the screaming and crying, because first they just start crying and then it turns into screaming. It applies to animals too, because I have a dog who's like a big baby and she's very attached to my mom, so when my mom's out working, she starts crying. So even just hearing animals crying, it gets on my nerves. Next is pooping. I know they can't help it, but I don't know. Pooping just should go without saying, it's just nasty, but they just do it so constantly, it's just annoying. And the screaming, like I said with crying, I don't like high-pitched noises that just drag on for long periods of time. That includes screaming. It's just very annoying. Tantrums, those are the two things combined, crying and screaming, and maybe even pooping. They just start crying and screaming just because they don't get their way. And it'll be over something simple too. There was a picture online of a lady who took a picture of her kid who was crying because he said he didn't want to go. But they weren't going anywhere in the first place. She just started crying and saying he didn't want to go anywhere, when they weren't going anywhere in the first place. Choosing the baby over the older kid. So like sometimes parents, they'll pay more attention to the baby than the older kid, because maybe the kid wants to show them something and they're too busy being occupied with the baby or whatever the baby's doing. I don't know, it's just kind of unfair, which is kind of why I want to have identical twins. So that way there's no picking favorites. Taking over the TV. Sometimes I babysit. I know, right? Me, who doesn't like kids, babysitting. Well, it's usually my friend's little sister and my cousins. And they know me, so they generally behave. But when they come here, they just take over the whole TV. But that's the only thing that keeps them sane. Just watching TV. And you'll sit there and that's all they watch all day. They don't let you watch your shows. It's all about them watching freaking Odd Squad or Peppa Pig or the knockoff version of the superhero girls. Yeah. They're always staring at me. Have you ever been to a store or a restaurant and there's just a baby sitting there staring at you? I don't know why. I just have this thing where I don't like people staring at me. That's why I don't like presenting in front of class, because I just don't like people staring at me. So when I'm minding my own business and I turn around and I see a baby staring at me, it's like kind of creepy. And not only they're staring at you, but they're staring at you like with these big eyes, like they've never seen you before. They look at you with this poker face, but I don't know, I just don't like it. Their parents are overprotective and they don't believe anything you say. So if their kid went over and they dropped a vase and you go and tell their parents, they won't believe you. Or they'll try to blame the whole thing on you. This has happened to me a lot. And it's not even just with children, it's also with animals. I went out with my mom. We went to go visit New York, so it was just my brother, my dad, and my dog Delilah. So my brother and dad went upstairs and left Delilah downstairs by herself. My brother came downstairs and she ripped up the whole rug, and he called my mom to let her know, and she blamed it on him because she said that they shouldn't have left her alone by herself. But you can't really blame him. She's the one who did it, but she's a baby, so yeah. They act like angels when they're with their parents, but then they act like demons when they're by themselves. This is another thing that gets on my nerves, because my mom used to have a lot of like friends over and they all had kids, and they would dump all the kids on me and my brother. So all the kids would be running around, going nuts, going absolutely like crazy. Like you won't even believe some of the stuff they do. Sometimes they'd lock themselves in our own rooms. My brother, he's like overly nice, and he's kind of like a people pleaser. So we used to have a guest room open to people to hang out and watch TV, and so my brother would go over there with those kids and play with them, and then he would come back to his room, and those other kids would completely trash his whole room. His stuff was all over the floor. They would go into his closet and just start taking things out. Like, it was a huge mess. But then if something went wrong, guess whose fault it was? My fault. Not the kid's fault, my fault. Oh yeah. Their daycares are like hazard zones. Like, I'm not even, this is gonna sound kind of germophobic, but you would kind of have to go on in there with like a hazmat suit on. Their daycares are so disgusting and germy. I mean, I'm not like a germaphobe. I get sick very easily. So I guess that kind of adds the germaphobeness type thing. I don't think I'm a germaphobe, but I don't know. I could not go into those daycares. They're so nasty. Cause kids, they run around and they sneeze in their hands, and then they go touch something, and then some other kid touches that one thing, then they like eat a taco or a hot dog with that hand. So then they get germs on the food, and then they eat it, then they get sick, then they cough on something. The whole cycle just continues. It's really gross. And then oh yeah, just like the grossness in general. They just do some really nasty things. I remember when I was younger, I used to just like taking bits and pieces of my lunch and mixing it all together and see what would happen. I would never eat it because it was nasty, and I knew it was nasty, so I wouldn't eat it, but I just did it for fun because I was just a weird kid. Oh yeah, and then picking their nose and drooling, those two kind of go together. Oh yeah, and runny noses. Those all go together along with daycares. It's just nasty. That's how germs spread. I think it's because teachers teach students to sneeze and cough in their hands, but you're actually supposed to use your antecubital fossa. And for those of you who don't know what that is this thing, you're inside your elbow. That's like my favorite word. So whenever some kid comes along in here, you can ask any kid that's met me and they sneezed. Like, if they sneeze or cough in front of me, I'll always tell them to use their antecubital fossa. And most of them find it pretty funny until they get annoyed and they're like, why do you always say that? Don't stop saying that so much. I'm like, well, stop coughing in your hands so much. Then use your antecubital fossa. Oh yeah, crying for no reason. That's another thing. They'll be completely calm and just out of nowhere just start crying for the stupidest. It won't even be anything. They'll just start crying just for attention because they have nothing better to do than to torture their family or the mother that just spent like 12 hours birthing them into the world. They just want to sit there bothering them. Oh, that's better, I guess. It's better than it was before. So, next. Oh yeah, they're just rude in general. Like, I know they're babies, they don't know anything, they don't have any manners because nobody taught them. I know this, but they're still rude. I've seen moms just talking amongst themselves and they're carrying a baby, and all of a sudden the baby just comes out and tries to pull their shirt down because they want some milk. Like, in front of everyone. Do you know how embarrassing that must be? Like, I would not be able to do that. I'd be so mad and embarrassed at the same time if it happened to me. And they're always getting into trouble. Like, they know what they're doing is wrong, and they go and do it anyways. Because they're just annoying. That's just what they do. They purposefully get in trouble. Some people say it's because they want attention. I think they just do it out of pure boredom. Because they know they're not supposed to, like, if you've been telling them all their life since they're born, and if they're at an age where they understand you, like 2 or 3 or maybe even 4, like, if they can understand you and you say, okay, do not touch this, when you leave, as the first thing they do is go and touch exactly what you told them not to touch. I remember one time I was babysitting this little girl, and I told her, do not touch anything. And the first thing she does, like 5 minutes later when I turn my back, she starts touching my stuff. I'm like, don't touch it. She goes, okay, and she turns and touches something else. I'm like, don't touch anything. Okay, you mean like this? Like this, starts poking myself. I'm like, yes, don't touch anything. She's like, oh, this too. Yes, do not touch anything. Don't touch anything. Next, everybody thinks everything they do is cute. They'll literally just be sitting there, and everyone's just like, oh, look how cute he is. He's not doing anything. Like, my mom and grandma, they'll be scrolling through pictures on Instagram or whatever of babies. Like, look, Shanice, look how cute that is. Or even in commercials when the kids are misbehaving. Oh, they're so cute. I'm like, that's not cute. They're misbehaving. Do you see what they're doing? You're like, oh, yeah, but you know they're cute. That's so... No, that's not cute. I mean, but I guess it's kind of the same thing for animals because... At least, but animals, they do it when they do cute faces, though. Like, my dog, she'll be sitting there, but she makes certain faces. Babies, they'll literally just sit there like this. They won't be doing anything. They have like a straight poker face. They won't be making any like they don't have any expression in their face at all. And they'll just be sitting there. And everyone's like, oh, look how cute. My dog, when she sits there, she actually makes like cute faces. Like she'll tilt her head or, just do something cute. They cry a lot when they don't get their way, and they think they're kind of like entitled. Like, I feel like they think they're all entitled to something. I don't know what it is. Like, they're entitled to the whole world. But, like, when you take them out to a play place, they'll go run around and play. As soon as you take them there, they think automatically like they own the place. Like, everything there is theirs. So when you tell them no, they start throwing a tantrum, which is unfair to the kids and the parents around. But they don't care because they think they're entitled. And I don't like when people say, oh, they're just a baby. So what? What about when they're not babies? You're just going to say, oh, they're just a baby to everything? What about when they're 50 and they go and commit a crime? You're going to say, oh, they're just a baby? Like, what age does it stop? That kind of just gets on my nerves. Because if a baby goes and breaks a vase, then you go, it's just a baby. That doesn't help pay for the cost of the vase. That could have been like some kind of 50 years, like handed down thing, and the baby just broke it. That doesn't change anything. I just don't see the whole point of saying it's just a baby. Because that means that they'll eventually get used to you saying and defending them and saying that it's just a baby. But then they'll get used to you saying that so that then they can do anything they want. Anyways, you get the point. When you say they're just a baby, they're going to grow up thinking that they can do anything they want. And then they're going to grow up being spoiled because you always say they're just a baby. But then when you just stop saying it, they're not going to understand what's going on because they're going to expect you to go and defend them all the time by saying they're just a baby. But that's not really how it works. So, I hope you guys like this video. Sorry I haven't made a video in a long time, but like, I've been busy because I have like school and family and stuff. And sometimes I just forget. And also it takes a while to edit these videos. And it's pretty hard to do that when you have to go to school and physical therapy. And yeah. Well, hopefully you like up this video and subscribe because like I said in the last video, it'd be pretty nice to have a follower that's not just my brother and my grandma and my mom and myself. So, yeah. Bye.